Good evening, or morning, or afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Raluca, and I'll be your host for the 49th edition of the LIVRESQ Empower Your Teaching webinar. We have some exciting news, so I'm excited to share this news with you because we have a new interface. You might have noticed if you've been using LIVRESQ for a while, you might have noticed that there have been some big changes, both in terms of how we work as well as the interface of the app. So, I won't spend too much time on the introduction. If you're here watching us live, either you're on Zoom or you're watching us live on one of the platforms, please don't hesitate to leave a comment or ask a question in chat. If you're watching a recording of this, however, you can also leave a comment down below and we'll get back to you as soon as possible. If you ask your question live, I'll answer it for you live. This will take about roughly 20 to 30 minutes. I'll show you the interface, answer your questions, and tell you about anything else you might want to know related to LIVRESQ. Now, let's see what it actually looks like. Because I'm starting in a project, straight in a project, because that's where the changes have happened. We've had a big year in LIVRESQ. We've had a year where we changed how the organizer looks, or we've brought the organizer back. Actually, that's mainly what we've done with the platform. Other changes include the way you can organize projects and some other features that we've added as well, especially with relating to quizzes. And now the biggest change we've left for the second half of the year, or for almost the end of the year, which is this new interface. About 2 weeks ago, maybe three now, if you've opened LIVRESQ, you might have noticed that it looks different once you're inside a section. So we're talking about the way we add content to a section, not the whole general look of LIVRESQ. You can still go back to look at the old interface, and to do that, you can go into My Account, under Settings, and you have three options here. So not just two, not just the current interface and the older interface, but three. The Expanded is the new default. The Accordion is my favorite one. We'll look at it in a minute. And if you go on Compact, this is the way LIVRESQ used to look. Now, the way we work with it has changed a little bit. We have structures now, structures of content that you can add to add content in a more visually pleasing way, or in more layouts. There are actually layouts for different combinations of resources and different combinations of types of content. I'll show you in a minute. You don't have this if you go back to the old interface. My favorite way to display these features, however, is using the accordion feature. So if we opt for this interface and select this option, you'll notice that the new categories of content, the new layouts, are divided into categories which show up in a list here. So we have basic text, we have advanced text, we have images, multiple ways to add images, multiple ways to add multimedia resources, interactive resources as well, evaluation for all of the quizzes that you can add, and also the constructor or the builder here, where you can add different structural elements to your project. Okay, so the new way, the default way in which you see it, contains the same structures, the same categories, except now in the default interface, they're displayed up here. It's easier, for me at least, or it seems easier in accordion, because you can navigate more easily and find what you need more easily. So that's why I'm going to show you what's happened in accordion. I think it's sort of, again, easier to look at. So first of all, instead of our separate resources where you could have added text in one single way, now you have two ways to add text, two main ways, and also two types of layouts containing text. If we go into basic text, we have heading, subheading, then the paragraph, and then two columns of text. If we go into advanced text, then you can just add a table, you can add a saying if you need, a band of text, a note, quote, centered, quote, and different ways to add quotes. You'll see that there are lots and lots of options here. And in the following webinars, we're going to go through each and every one of them, and I'll show you how they work. Now, you might also notice that the workspace, the main place where we add all of the content, also seems cleaner, if you will, or we don't see the composing elements of a section, which, as you might have heard me say before, are also three, just like projects, sections, and content and resources. We have three types of elements that make up a section, and these are rows, cells, and the content itself, the resource itself. We still have them. They are fundamental for LIVRESQ because they allow us to let you build responsive content very easily, but they're hidden in this default display. In order to show them, in order to see them, to display them on your screen, you can go up here to this option and you'll be able to see them again. So now I see the dotted lines, the contour around each element. I know that I have a row here with a cell, and inside that cell I have a bit of text. So far so good. Now, how do we add different types of elements to our project now, or to our section? Up to this point, we use drag and drop, and that still works. If I need a heading to show up here, I'll drag and drop it, and I've added a heading. But it also works on click. If I click on two columns of text, they'll show up in my project. If I click on a saying, it'll show up in my project. And notice that it's always showing up at the end. If I want to add an element between two rows, then I can just continue to drag and drop it wherever I wanted to, or wherever I want to place it. And if I want to place, there's another way actually. If I select this row, for instance, and I want my note to appear under it, I have it selected, I click on the note, and the note will appear here. So either I drag and drop it wherever I need, or I click on the element above it, select it, and then I add the content right after the element that's selected. And again, we have rows, cells, and the resources itself. Now, one mention about working with LIVRESQ like this is that these structures, especially the advanced text, are structures built for rows. So for instance, if I wanted to add this quote, this Einstein quote, I added here as a row, and this is what it looks like. Maybe I should try with a different example so you can see it better. Maybe this one. I'll delete this row and I'll add it here. So you can see that there's a text box here containing the picture of Einstein, and then there's the quote. If I don't add it as a row, and for instance I drag and drop it under a text resource, it will be displayed differently because these layouts are formatted as rows, and we recommend that you use them as rows. Of course, if we're talking about simpler resources like a video, then you can add it wherever you want. You can add anything wherever you want, but if you want to keep the formatting advantages, at least for the advanced text, then you need to add these pieces of content as separate rows. So in terms of working, you have now two ways to add content or layouts to your project. You can click on a bit of content and then it shows up, or you can drag and drop it exactly where you need it. Again, with the mention that at least for advanced text, all of these layouts, and we call them layouts because they're made up of more than one resource. You can see we have images here, we have a background image, so they have some formatting behind them. Formatting that before, in the older version of LIVRESQ, you were supposed to do on your own with either the options provided by the platform and sometimes for more advanced formatting in code. So now you have all these options, they're ready-made, they're layouts that are designed for you, but they work as rows. And again, everything is here. We haven't added new, actually we did add a new resource, I'll show you in a minute, but everything that you could have already added to LIVRESQ in terms of types of content is still here. Two types of text, as you've seen, the basic ones where we have these options and all of the layouts for the advanced text. Editing the content that we add works in the same way. I double click and I can type, edit, delete, change color, and whatever else I need. And then For images, we again have a few types of layouts. We have a centered image, we have a full banner-like image, we have image and text, we have the image text overlay, we have, hold on, I'm missing my cursor. We have a grid with 2 images, a grid with 3 images, and the gallery of images as well. So in terms of types of content that you can add, there's nothing new. Sorry, for a minute my camera turned off. That was unintentional. Right. In multimedia, you can find the audio. It works in the same way. If we were to add an audio to our project, we double click it and we have the same audio editing screen. You can change it. You can generate audio using text to speech, just like before. You also have a video here, the application resource, the attachment, and the speech or the virtual assistant is now located here under multimedia. In terms of interactive resources, we have the accordion, the tabs, the hotspots, the matrix or the crossword puzzle, and finally a button. So you could create buttons before in LIVRESQ, and we have videos dedicated to showing you this option, especially buttons that you can use to navigate between sections. But now we have a ready-made button for you that you can just configure straight from the platform. So this is where our button is. We have an action assigned to it. You can see the action in the right hand on the right hand side and under properties. You can follow the link or you can follow a bookmark. So you can connect different parts of the course between them, or you can create a button to have a link that directs somewhere outside LIVRESQ. Under evaluation, you have all types of quizzes, all the types of quizzes that we've had before. There's nothing new here. We have single choice, multiple choice, drag and drop, and it's not, the resource itself is not different. I'll show you what I mean. So if I add a drop-down quiz, so this is a quiz where I have 2 drop-down lists over here. In order to edit it, I'm going to double click. And you can see that I can still change the type of quiz once I'm inside the editing mode for the quiz. So I still have all the options, even the option to change the type of quiz. I have the same settings here that we've had before, but now we've provided layouts for and examples, hopefully more clear examples that will help you see all the ways in which you can use the quizzes better. So we have examples that you can add to your section that are sort of ready-made, and then you can just go inside the quiz and change whatever you need to change inside here. At the very end of this section that's called evaluation, where we have all of the quizzes, we also have the certificate. The certificate, again, is not something new. We have a previous video dedicated to it in which we explain how it works. It's a downloadable diploma or certificate that your learner, whether they're students or learners or adult learners, they can download the diploma and you can customize it. You can add different types of images or anything else you might want to add. And at the very end, if you need structural elements like separators, numbered separators, this is new. You could have done it before using a bit of formatting, but now it's done automatically. So if I want to separate, I've already done it, between different parts of my material, for instance, I want to separate and say this is the first, it's automatically numbered, it's 1. If I want to add another separator below, it's automatically numbered and we have the number 2 displayed. Again, I can add another one. So it will automatically change the number for us. And I think it works as well if you change the order. So 3 becomes 4, and so that they're in the exact same order. We can also add the spacer. We had the spacer before. We had the barriers before. Barriers and the virtual assistants are still here, so you can still guide your learners. You can still paste them in your material. You don't have to provide all of the material at once. And these are all structures of rows. So if you don't like any of the layouts, if you just need a simple row with 2 cells, for instance, that will be displayed as for the length of the screen, you can add the row like this, and then you can add content inside this row. So for instance, I'm just going to add a simple image maybe, and a simple bit of text. So I can still create my own layouts. I don't need to necessarily go with one of the layouts that was provided or that the platform or that my colleagues have developed for you. And also the option way down here, it's called Resource from Organizer. This is a little bit more complex. We've covered it in the past. I wouldn't want to insist on it's a more advanced feature. So if you want to create a resource on its own and introduce it to multiple projects, you can, and then this is the way to do it. But again, the simplest way to do it is to copy paste it between projects. Now, I'm nearing the end sort of this showcase. Again, in future webinars, we're going to go through each and every one of these categories. We're going to go through all of the layouts, see what we can do, how we can edit them. Most of them are straightforward, but some of them are a little bit more intricate or are a little bit more intricately edited. So I'm going to show you how to change and edit each and every one of them. If in the meantime you have any questions, again, if you're live on Facebook, if you're live on Zoom here with me, please ask your questions in chat and I'll answer them. I mentioned at the very beginning that we also have a new type of content. It's a little bit hidden, as most very good things are. So it is an interactive type of content, and it's actually built on a previous type of content that we have, which is a matrix. So I'm just going to select this row and then click on matrix so that I can add a row with this crossword puzzle. Again, we call it matrix. It's actually a crossword puzzle. And now this is the version you're used to. Maybe some changes related to placement because this bit here used to be under the crossword puzzle. Now it's on its right. But besides crossword, we have scrambled words that are available now. So scrambled words give you the possibility to make this sort of finding game for your students. It's again a new app. You can change the grid size. You can define words. You can make them as part of a story. This is again a more advanced feature. But essentially what your student will have to do is find words that match each description. Let me see if I can find at least one. And then it's added here automatically. So this is how it works. You can create more intricate, longer, larger grids for it. You can add more words and you can make it really complex. So it's a way to build a little game for your students or for your learners. Give them definitions and have them find words. This is particularly useful for foreign languages or for any type of content where you need the students to discover the definition of a particular term. So now this is sort of new in terms of content that we have two versions of the matrix, which is either a crossword puzzle or scrambled words. Otherwise, everything else that's new is new in terms of interface and the fact that you can now build more, again, aesthetically or visually pleasing courses without having to put too much effort into formatting, without having to know code, without having to sort of go into the bits and bolts of LIVRESQ to be able to do that. So you just are able to add these layouts very easily either by clicking or by dragging and dropping them. And for instance, again, some of them are really straightforward to use and to edit. I can double click, at least for text, it's very, very easy. I can just double click on the text and I have the text editing menu that pops up in my section and I can just start editing. And I can also, for more complex structures, it might not be very straightforward. For instance, if I wanted to change the background image here, this is a background image that's set for an entire row. So it's located here. And then I can click on my background image. I can change the image either by uploading another file or by using a stock photo. So again, I can search through stock photos and I can change the background. With a grain of salt though, because whatever you select here, I need to be able to still read the text. So this is more of a design principle For instance, I don't think this is a suitable image because the text is not very evident. Of course, we can change the background of the text, for instance, and then it's better. But we have this feature now, and this is the background of the row. This is an image that's added to a text box. So some of them are a little bit more, they're not, I mean, they're pretty intuitive, but um, especially if you have a little bit of experience with LIVRESQ. If this is your first time with LIVRESQ, I'm sure anyway that my presentation was a little bit overwhelming. It takes a little bit of time, but again, for our more experienced users, and I know a few of you are more experienced, I hope it's a change that will help you work faster, it will help you work better, it'll help you create more complex and more, again, visually pleasing courses that allow your learners to learn faster and to learn better in a more interactive way. Now, again, if you have any questions, I am here. Um, and if you can't think of a question now, or if you're watching us on a recording on Zoom or on Facebook, well, this will be available on Facebook. Sorry, not on Zoom, on YouTube. So this will go up on YouTube as a recording. Please leave your comments down below. We'll answer any questions you might have regarding how this works. And again, in future webinars, we will go into into every category and go through how you can edit every category and see how it works, the way you add content, the way you edit content, and the way you can work with these layouts. We'll go through basic text, advanced text, images, multimedia, and the other categories that my colleagues have prepared for you. All right, and also a mention, this is our last webinar for the year of 2025. No, actually, we have one more. Sorry, I got confused there for a while. So we have one more webinar this year. We'll talk about the text, and then we'll see you in 2026 as well. Just as a mention, so this webinar takes place once every 2 weeks on Thursdays. Sometimes we have some hiccups, like 2 weeks ago, we've sent an email when there was a little bit of a delay and we've had some problems. We weren't able to hold the webinar, but otherwise we're here every 2 weeks on Thursdays at 6:30 Central European time. So this is 7:30 if you're in Romania, or another time if you're anywhere else. So the export is where it always was. So if you go under project, not inside the section, you need to export an entire project, not a section. You have an export button. And if you have a pro account, not a free account, you have 4 options. The free accounts only have one available option. So the pro accounts can either export in SCORM. If you're working in an LMS, in a learning management system, you have 3 versions of SCORM to choose from, either 1.2, 2004 third, and 2004 fourth package, fourth type of package. So this is whenever, and this will essentially download a SCORM compliant archive that you can just upload to your LMS, and then it functions as an online course. The published to library is the free option because we offer 3 hosting for your materials. So if you export to our library, this means that we will automatically create a link. I'll show you in a second. And then you can send that link to whoever you want to see your course. The option to share publication source means that you will allow, once your publication is public, it doesn't have to be public, we'll see in a minute, but if it's public, if it goes into the public area of the library, then other teachers and other professionals will be able to go and create a copy of your material and edit it in their account. So your material can be used as a starting point for another creation. So if I click on confirm here, what the platform does is exporting it, publishing it to the LIVRESQ library. And then once it's published to the LIVRESQ library, I get this link. Whoever I send this link to will have access to my material. If I want it to appear in the public area of the LIVRESQ library, which is goes here, you don't need an account to access it, then I can send the request to publish to our team. That's how it generally works. So real people, actual people, people I know, administer the this library, and they check every bit of content manually. So they look through everything that goes into our public library. We now have over, let me give you actual numbers, more than 90. Actually, I think we're over 100,000. These are not updated numbers. So we have a lot of materials in the libraries. Most of them, not most of them, but a lot of them are public, and everything that you can find in this public area of the library, which can be accessed without an account, is checked by someone so that we can make sure that the information is not inappropriate, so that we can make sure that there are some minimum criteria that is met. And we have list of criteria, so again, but in case you want to use this material with free hosting just for you and your students or your learners, you can just send them this link. You'll find it in your personal shelf once you're logged in as well. So if you lose this link, there's no problem. You can find that material here in my shelf. And you can send this link to whoever you want. This is the easy option, no LMS. And again, free hosting. There is no limit to how many versions or how many materials you post in the LIVRESQ library. And then the other two options are again for paid accounts only. You can either download the plain HTML package, which allows you to include this material into something else, into a website, for instance, because we're working in HTML5. Or you can self-publish it, or you can use it offline. So if you work in a school or any type of institution where you don't have access to internet, you can still work on everything offline. And the last option is to generate PDF. This is because it was very highly requested. We don't necessarily encourage it because the idea of LIVRESQ is to give you the possibility to build interactive courses. And if you do this, if you do this, they're no longer interactive. So in a PDF, you wouldn't be able to play this audio. You wouldn't be able to solve this unless you do it with a pen and piece of paper. So it's not interactive anymore, but a lot of people wanted to print their materials. So you have this possibility for versions of export. And I think, I hope I've sort of covered your question. All right. If there are no other questions, thank you so much for joining me today. Again, I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. And I'm very excited to start talking about the categories of layouts that we've prepared for you, to go through each of them, and to show you more of our interface. I'll give you a little speech about thanking you for being with us for more towards the end of the year, since we already have one more meeting. So thank you so much, and have a great whatever part of day you're enjoying. Leave us a comment if you're watching a recording of this. See you soon. Bye.